How did Plainfield Township and Comstock Park go from getting their public drinking water from a series of natural springs to the municipal wells being declared by the Michigan DNR as the second worst contamination site posing the greatest threat to human health in the state of Michigan? One of the EPA-listed responsible parties for the contamination of the municipal water is Waste Management via the Douthit landfill on East Beltline. First, we need to go back to the board minutes of November 1957. This is when the garbage man and landfill owner Mr. Douthit received exclusive rights to collect garbage in Plainfield Township and dump the waste at the Douthit landfill located on the East Beltline on the hill above the gravel pits that would later contain the municipal wells. The Plainfield Municipal Water System was built in 1963. Inside the September 1963 minutes, we learn Douthit was the first Plainfield water superintendent. In 1971, the Plainfield Township engineers informed the Kent County Health Department, the source of the municipal water supply's recharge is rain collecting in the Douthit landfill, which was known to contain hazardous waste. In 1973, the State of Michigan Department of Public Health responded to Plainfield Township's use of a landfill containing hazardous waste as the source for the public drinking water recharge, with the following. 1. Contamination of the water supply is indicated to be merely a question of time. 2. Degradation of the water quality from hazardous wastes which may be present in a landfill cannot be compensated for in the water treatment process. 3. Landfill construction and operation practices intended to minimize hazards do retard, but do not guarantee elimination of the problem. 4. Hazardous wastes and contamination in general simply do not belong in the recharge area of a public water supply. During the decade that followed, Plainfield Township refused to take action to protect the public's health. In October of 1983, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources confirmed hazardous waste from the landfill had reached the municipal wells after finding trichloroethylene, which is used to make refrigerants and other hydrofluorocarbons, 1.2-dichloroethane, which is used to make vinyl chloride and chlorinated solvents, CIS 1.2-dichloroethylene, 1.1-dichloroethane, which is used to dissolve substances in paint and varnish, and xylene, which is used for thinning paints and varnishes, in the township wells providing the public municipal water supply. In 1985, the EPA additionally detected ethylbenzene, which is primarily used in the production of rubber and plastics, barium and nickel, which are used by the metal plating industry, and other organic compounds. The landfill site, whose institutional control boundary map includes the township municipal wells identified, was placed on the NPL, which is the National Priorities List for toxic cleanup in 1990. Waste Management has been allowed to conduct their own investigation of the site and formulate a response. Their investigation has been ongoing for the last 40 years and the site is still contaminating the municipal water supply today. This is the EGLE Well Viewer Map, which shows you the location of the municipal wells, and allows you to verify that the municipal wells, the Department of Natural Resources identified in 1983 contaminated with hazardous waste remain listed as active today. I want to direct your attention to the lake behind the score, where the township wells are located only a few feet from the gravel pit lake. The township wells start at 30 feet deep. Plainfield Township disposes of their contaminated filter media and sewage sludge from the sewer plant in this lake located a few feet from the municipal wells. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources asked them to stop and clean up the lake. Plainfield Township chose to take the Michigan Department of Natural Resources to court, and spent more than $1 million of the Plainfield Township taxpayers' money fighting the case, to be allowed to continue contaminating the municipal wells. Could this be the reason why the officials from Alpine Township, Plainfield Township, Rockford, proposed the toilet water to tap concept in 2009? 5220 Woodfield is the address where the water storage tanks, water plant and township wells are located on the west side of Northland Drive. In Google Earth, when you apply the EGLE Part 201 contamination layers, you will see the water plant's address falls within the address range listed as a Part 201 hazardous waste contamination site, listing the hazardous waste as elements, metals, lead, other inorganics, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Now let's look at House Street Dump's listing. The House Street Dump has the same Part 201 hazardous waste contamination status, and listed hazardous waste found is identical to the municipal wells, water plant and storage tanks, listing elements, metals, other inorganics, lead, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. The only difference between the two listings is one is where the municipal water comes from. Across the river from Versluis Lake and the township wells, next to Leisure Village, is the Northeast Gravel, Boulder Creek landfill. This is also listed as a Part 201 hazardous waste contamination site, listing the hazardous waste as chlorinated volatile and semi-volatile organic compounds, elements, metals, other inorganics, lead, mercury, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, petroleum volatile and semi-volatile organic compounds. This is the EGLE North Kent Study Area Map, which shows the actual PFAS concentrations found. First, I would like to direct your attention to the legend on the right-hand side. Yellow indicates PFAS was not detected, or was below cleanup standards. Red indicates PFAS was detected above cleanup standards, with the larger shape representing a larger detection. When we look at the results for one of the ponds at Boulder Creek, next to Leisure Village, we learn the PFAS result is 2,760 parts per trillion. The maximum allowed in drinking water is 4 parts per trillion. Now let's look near the House Street dump. As you can see by the map, most dots are yellow, indicating the majority of private well owners' wells were either non-detect or below cleanup criteria. Let's look at a few of the wells next to House Street dump. This well directly next to the House Street dump has a PFAS concentration of 180 parts per trillion. And this one's concentration is 95 parts per trillion. That's odd. The PFAS levels in the residential wells next to the dump are drastically less than the unfiltered levels in the municipal wells, and not even close to the 2,760 parts per trillion found across the river from the township wells next to Leisure Village at Boulder Creek. The EPA's Potential Hazardous Waste Site Inspection Report for Boulder Creek states high conductivity values and presence of copper, chromium, chloromethane, and 1.1 dichloroethylene in the monitoring wells. Groundwater suggests potential hazards to local wells. The Plainfield Municipal Water Supply well field is located southwest of this site. Most wells tap into sand and gravel, which constitute the aquifer of concern. The EPA's groundwater flow map shows the flow of contaminants from this site directly towards the township's municipal wells. In 2009, the EPA published their final report on PFAS chromium electroplaters in our region. With Detroit's dominance in the automotive industry, Grand Rapids became very large in the automotive support business, specifically electroplating. In fact, Grand Rapids has previously held the title of having the largest concentration of electrometal finishers in the world. PFAS is the safety chemical used in chrome plating to protect the public and employees from the hexavalent chromium, which lies underneath the foam PFAS blanket. If we look at the Plainfield Township minutes from August 1971, we learn Gerald Van Delon brought to the board's attention the fact that the Northeast Gravel Company has built lagoons and steel-plated trucks were hauling in acid and chrome plating waste 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. A meeting with Chet Harvey, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources manager for water resources, whom authorized this dumping, was suggested. Yes, you read that right. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources authorized the dumping of chrome plating waste into unlined lagoons at the Northeast Gravel, Boulder Creek landfill, which is now contributing to the contamination of the Plainfield Township municipal water supply. In the Plainfield Township minutes from December 1977, the board recognized parties who had come to discuss industrial sludge dumping at the 10-mile landfill. Among the interested parties were the heads of Master Finishing, Grand Rapids Bright Metals, Keeler Brass, plating companies, along with Grand Rapids and Kent County officials. The city and county officials throughout the discussion reiterated concern over the economic crisis being experienced by local plating companies due to the closure of the Fenske landfill. They felt the plating companies in and around Grand Rapids need a permanent temporary site in this area to dump sludge. During this crisis, city and county officials stated that the contract prohibits the dumping of hazardous waste, and felt the sludge from metal plating companies does not come under this category. The consensus of the officials was that the Department of Natural Resources has already given verbal approval, that they do not foresee any environmental problem, and the county would like approval immediately to avert an economic problem that could result from shutdowns, thereby putting people out of work. Now that we know the plating companies disposed of their PFAS-laden plating waste in the 10-mile landfill, let's return to the EGLE North Kent Study Area Map and look at a well concentration at a lower elevation than the landfill. The PFAS concentration in this well is 31,900 parts per trillion, coming from the plating waste in the 10-mile landfill. This pie chart comes from the Michigan EGLE and shows the known generators of PFAS being discharged. As you can see by the chart, metal finishing plating companies and the landfills containing their waste accounts for 2/3 of all PFAS discharged. The tanning industry did not even make the list. Waste Management is the listed company responsible for the 10 Mile landfill. The families behind the Douthit landfill were the Huizinga and Hoekstra families. Wayne Huizinga attended Calvin College in Grand Rapids from 1956 to 1958. Wayne Huizinga co-founded Waste Management. Wayne's grandfather Harm Huizinga started one of Chicago's first garbage companies in 1893, called Huizinga & Sons Scavenger Company. During the late 1920s, the Huizinga Garbage Company was located in Cicero, Illinois. In the same area, Al Capone resided at the time. Today the Huizinga family owns approximately 90% of the landfills and garbage companies in the United States, operating underneath more than 1,866 names. Including Republic Services, Waste Management, Allied Waste, American Classic, Everkept, and countless others. This illustration from the Broward County newspaper shows how the Waste Management Company works. Waste Management consolidates various smaller waste management companies under its umbrella, often retaining local brand names to maintain customer familiarity and regional identity. The Miami New Times reported how Wayne Huizinga acquired his first client for Pompano Karting at the age of 22. According to a civil suit Millwood filed in November 1961, Huizinga refused to vacate the premises. After using abusive and profane language to both Millwood and his wife, the defendant Huizinga attacked Millwood in a fit of anger and without provocation, striking him on his face and body, using great force and violence, thereby inflicting great bodily harm and mental shock. The altercation left Millwood with a ripped shirt, broken sunglasses, and abrasions on his face. Most painful, noted the lawsuit, was the permanent injury to the testicles and genital area as a result of grabbing and twisting by the defendant. Here is Wayne Huizinga describing how he acquired his first garbage company.
So I went and see this fellow by the name of Wilbur Porter. And I said, Wilbur, I want to buy your business, but I don't have any money. And then finally Wilbur said, okay, I'll sell you the business and I'll finance you. That was my first leverage buyout back in those days, you know. So.
Wayne Huizinga passed away March 22, 2018. The following video is from his son, Wayne Huizinga Jr.
I wanted to be like my father. I wanted to have a nice car like he had. Private jet to fly on when we went on vacation. I wanted to be able to bless people like he did. I wanted to be respected like he was. I saw my father occasionally. He was busy building Waste Management at the time. His life was filled with hard work, with travel, with interesting people. He had a certain amount of power. It was a life that seemed exciting to me. I made an incredible amount of money working with Wayne Sr. there. I began to have wealth to fly, to have a nice sport fishing yacht, to live in a big home, to have an incredible amount of disposable income. We owned 3 sports teams. We drank in excess, went to the kind of clubs that you didn't tell your mother that you went to. I commanded an audience. I said whatever came to my mind, whether it was to you or to your wife. Self-focused. Do what I want, and I'm going to please me, no matter what that means. That was my life. An incredible banquet of all the things that the world had to offer, but just never getting full, never being satisfied, never being able to push away and say, okay, that's enough.